Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Light & Co podcast. I'm Dee, I'm your host, and I'll be with you for the next 30-40 minutes. And today's is very different to anything else I've done. We're diving deep into relationships, but in a way that you will rarely hear. So I'm going to talk about what we term sacred union. It's not something that we witness or we experience much on this earth yet, but we will. And it's like we've heard of it, we've got lots of information about it, but how do you actually witness it as a lived experience? So that's what this is about, because I've lived one for the last 37 years. Okay, so part one of relationships was how I came to experience it, came to meet my now husband. And now part two, let's dive deeply into how we actually keep it alive, ensure that it thrives decade after decade, that it's ever evolving, that it's alive, that it's conscious, that it's a living entity that we feed every day. Wow. That's not how you hear relationships spoken about, is it? It's not. So I'm going to fill in the gap, all right? Now, some of you may have heard the phrase twin flames, and very few people really know what it means. It's bandied around out there. But it's when two, I'll use the word complete individuals come together. This is the one and the one equals three to create a third entity. And the purpose also of that entity, that relationship, is to expand and evolve the consciousness of both parties actively, consciously, daily. So it's going to get very hot in there because you're going to have to burn off a whole lot of dross. And that's the whole point of this type of relationship. So if you got to this point and you go, what is she on about? I have no idea what she's talking about. Maybe this one's not for you. But many of you I know are ready and desiring this type of relationship now. You speak about it, I hear it, out there on social media. But I don't see it demonstrated. I don't see it lived in a practical sense very often. So I'm going to now unpack the basic fundamentals of how this works as a living, evolving dynamic from day to day. Okay, I do have notes in front of me, so I may look at these because this is very specific information I'm going to be giving, okay? And it's based on my own lived experience. It's not out of a book. It's not out of somebody else's podcast. It is my own lived experience. Together with my husband, Clive, we've talked about this in preparation for this, so he's added in his. Let's see how we go. So first and foremost, it's like, why have this type of relationship? It would be so much easier if we didn't, And if you listen to my first one, it was like, oh, she's not going to settle. I don't settle, right? I couldn't settle into the sunset. So that sets up this. So that sets up me and who I am and why I'm here. So I met Clive back when I was 33. So this is, it wasn't my first marriage. It was my second, but I prepared a lot because I knew there was something like this. I knew that this was possible. And as I said, I didn't see it demonstrated out there anywhere. So First and foremost, the foundation of all of this is that both parties, and I'm speaking here from heterosexual relationships because that's my only experience, but both parties need to be in, boots and all. Both parties need to be willing, must be willing, to own their own stuff and see this as the relationship, see this relationship as the container, if you like, for the deepest, fastest track to self-actualization that you could possibly muster, okay? So yes, I'm just going to reiterate, it's going to get hot in there. So first and foremost, women, you cannot change him to be the partner that you want him to be. He has to come to the table willingly, and so do you. So this requires radical transparency, radical monogamy, radical commitment. And the primary commitment is you to you and the evolution of your soul and the fullest expression of you on this earth, what you came here to be. So I could do this to a certain extent on my own, okay? If I had to be in a relationship and compromise in any way my own deepest sacred truth, I wouldn't be in one. It's as simple as that. So again, this is not for everybody. So I came to this relationship wanting that. I came to it wanting something so alchemically transformational, but I didn't have the words back then. I didn't know. So I was sort of following my nose and I was following the energy, and I knew when I met him that magnetism was so strong that there was something here, that there was that sense of recognition. So right from the start, we virtually shook hands. It was like, okay, this is it. These are the parameters from which we build this relationship for us that is unique. And again, the reason I'm talking about this is that we've sat there, the two of us, on this evolutionary edge for decades, right? Building this, experimenting with it, turning it upside down, working with it, embracing it, pulling it apart, putting it back together, reassembling it at a higher level. Because on some level, we both knew that this is the type of relationship that we're now heading into. More and more and more people, particularly in the next generation, desire this. So yes, again, I'm a pioneer. Clive's a pioneer. So let's share some of the things that have worked for us. Okay. First of all, I want to talk about the dynamics of masculine and feminine. Okay. Because when we understand I would say you understand the maths around this, how the geometry works around this, then it will make sense. For this to work as the 1 and 1 equals 3, I need to be 100% responsible for creating my own life. And that means that my masculine and my feminine are completely in balance, meaning that I've worked out my mother stuff, I've worked out my father stuff. I can be my own mother to me. I don't have to look outside of myself. So the way I speak to myself in that nourishing, loving, total acceptance is so important. I don't need that from anybody else. And then I have my masculine balanced, which is my capacity to speak my truth, to bring in integrity, to bring in boundaries, and my capacity to do things, to build things, to be creative, to go out there in the world, okay, to act. So that lovely being, which is the feminine, and then the acting, which is the masculine, is perfectly balanced within this body. That is the precursor, by the way, to embodiment. So once we have that, from there, the child is born. So this is the Christ light. This is what we're talking about. From there, your fullest expression, can be heard, can be felt, can contribute its highest to the whole. Okay, that's a lot to take in, right? So for Clive, it's the same. He has a very well-balanced masculine and feminine. So when you have two coming together like that, you can then build the container of sacred union in a really true, honest, coherent way. So the male's job, his job, is to create the safe container, the protector, the safe container for the feminine to flourish, for her to feel safe, for her to blossom, for her to be her fullest expression, for her to be able to love, for her to be able to receive. And in the doing of that, he becomes more and more of himself. And the dynamics between the two are freedom. He is free to be himself. I am free to be myself. And yet we choose each other daily. Just take that in. There's nothing taken for granted. We choose each other daily. So it is alive, it is fresh, it is living. There's nothing stagnant about this relationship, because that's what I choose and that's what he chooses. As I said, if it wasn't that way, I wouldn't want to be in it. And he said exactly the same thing this morning. He would not be in it. In other words, we don't need each other to function really well in this world. We choose each other to create something larger than the two of us, which is a sacred union, which creates the foundation for the work that we've come here to do. Because in many cases, sacred unions are also platforms, foundations for work to be done for the whole, conscious work to be done for the whole. Okay. Now, as I might have said, this container will be unique to you and your partner. Do not compare to others. Okay, do not be taken off track. What other people say, what your family says, what your girlfriend says. This is an agreement, a contract, if you like, between you, two souls, two humans here, as to how you're going to do your relationship to expand each other's growth. And for us, that foundation, as I mentioned, is radical transparency, so no secrets, and radical monogamy. We choose each other every day. Okay. All right, so how do we do that within the context of, again, children, business, mortgages, rents, money, aging parents, teenage children, soccer trips, as I said, socks that don't match. I don't know, all the daily stuff that we've got to do. How do we prioritize that as the cornerstone from which everything else flows? You only do it if that's what you both choose. Okay, so first and foremost, you make that the priority above all else. I mean, the ultimate priority is your relationship with yourself, but your relationship with yourself will be expanded and deepened by this type of relationship. As I said, it's easy to go and live in a cave, all right? It's harder when you've got this right up in your face. Because everything is on the table, everything is up, and everything keeps evolving. So how do I do this? Because I'm not doing this on a weekend retreat. I'm doing this in the fullness of everyday life. The first thing I've got to do is keep those communication channels open. Make time to talk. Not small talk, the good stuff, okay? The deep stuff. The stuff that binds your souls and gives yourself succor, okay? That's nourishment. Prioritize that. How you prioritize that is up to you. And I know these days are just extraordinary and they're incredibly busy, etc., etc. But why have a relationship? Why have a marriage if you're not going to prioritize this? What is the point of life? Okay. So it could, yes, just be 10 minutes out on the back step with a cup of tea. It could be 15 minutes with a glass of wine at night. It could be an hour when the kids have gone to bed. Whatever it is that's going to work for you and you're both going to agree to, you prioritize and you put down your phone. You turn off any other appliance. You sit and you be present with each other. It is the quality of this time, not the quantity of it. It's the quality of it. To actually be present with each other with no distractions whatsoever. And that includes women. Have I got the washing on? You know, what are the kids doing tomorrow? Park that or write it down before you come here. Park that. Learn to compartmentalize things, because this is the priority. Because once this is working, everything else flows. Okay? So communication is at the heart of it. And I'm not talking nagging, I'm talking active listening. Just what's going on? How are you feeling? What are we planning? You agree whatever the agenda is, but just Talk about the things that are front and center, that affect the next day, the following day, how you're feeling, etc., etc. Keep it rolling, keep it fresh. Don't sit on stuff. Do not put stuff under the carpet. It will fester. And it will gradually build another brick in the wall between you until there are things you just don't even talk about because it happened so long ago, or it's like, I don't want to bring that up, and you feel it. And therefore that radical transparency is out the window. And when you get really good at this, you can feel it. You can feel it in your field. You go, oh, there's a speed bump there. There's something I'm not saying, he's saying, and if I don't address it, it's just going to become this big elephant in the room. So I've got to say it. And then I've got to pick my moment when I say it. Not when he's driving in thick traffic, okay? Not when the kids are about to burst in from school. You plan it and you think through it. And I know this takes time. So it's how important you think this is. And when you get really good at it, you're able to cut to the chase really fast and get really good at getting to that nugget under there and pulling it apart and going, that's what that is. Okay, I'll come back to you on that. Okay, this is a work in progress, okay? It's for me, because here we are as these two pillars. There's this wonderful thing. I think it was, was it Khalil Gibran? I can't remember. Maybe it was Rumi. Let the winds of heaven dance between you. So keep your independence. Have your own space. Have your own form of expression. Okay, because we're all different. And when two intelligent adult people come to live together, they have their own idiosyncrasies. They have their own way of doing things. Honour that. Have time apart. Do the things that nourish you, that are yours alone. Whether it's going for a walk, whether it's going to the movies on your own, whether it's taking yourself out to dinner, whether it's just that cup of coffee down the end of the garden. Whatever that is, slipping away for that bath if you can. For us, it's really fundamentally practical because we work together as well. You know, this is 24/7, okay? Live together, work together, right? It's to have our own spaces, to have our own bathrooms, to have our own toothpaste, sometimes to have our own rooms to sleep in. We don't have to be together all the time. So I see the dynamics of a really healthy relationship are when you can go out like that and then come back in, and out like that and then come back in. And so the coming back in is sharing what it is that you experienced out here. Okay, because you're forever filling up your cup. Do not think that the other needs to fill up your cup. Fill it up for yourself, because then you've got that much to share. Otherwise, you're depleted. So this brings me back now. Oh, and this gets into such contentious territory, but I'm going to go there anyway, right? So this is about equal contribution. I married a man who can completely look after himself. So he can cook and iron and vacuum and wash and shop and everything, all right, without me. And I'm pretty much the same. I still haven't learnt to change a tyre, but that's a whole other story. I'll get there one day. So that means that I don't have to think about anything for him personal. He makes all his own appointments. He buys all his own clothes. How attractive is that? How wonderful is that? Because he didn't marry his mother. He worked that stuff out before he found me, actually. He didn't marry his mother. He wanted a partner. He wanted a lover. He wanted somebody to witness his deepest desires. But yeah, he didn't marry his mother. So I don't have to do any of those things. I can cook for him. I wouldn't shop for him. But we have these wonderful touch points during the day, you know, where I'll quietly make him a cup of tea, make sure that, you know, like where we're going to sit at night is all laid out and the cushions are comfy. Just that forward thinking, those lovely little things that just bring us back together. It's those touch points that create the communion, that create that I'm here, I'm not interfering with you, I know you're busy, but I'm here. So it could be just a little kiss on the back of the neck, okay? A hug. Physical touch points. Looking at each other. Saying thank you. Thank you for putting the washing on. Thank you for picking up the kids. Thank you. I really appreciate that you took the dog for a walk. Thank you. Thank you for that cup of tea. Thank you. And mean it. So this is the glue. Do not take anything for granted. You don't want to be in a position where suddenly they don't come home. They're not with you anymore. There was an accident. They're gone. Don't leave anything unsaid. Don't leave anything under that carpet. Don't take anything for granted. Can you feel the relevance, the intensity, the heat of that type of relationship? It's alchemical. It will blow away. It will alchemize the dross. And through this twin flame heat, it creates something pure gold. A relationship in which both of you are seen, heard, embraced, honoured, respected, held to account, but witnessed and loved deeply. Okay. Money. Okay. It's really great to have your own bank account. He doesn't need to see what's in it. But there's an acceptance that that's what you have, that's what I have, and then there's consolidated revenue. Keep money really, really transparent, and until it comes to your own bank account, and both of you do not question how the other person spends their money. If I want to go and spend $300 or $400 or more on a pair of shoes, he's not going to question that. And if he's spending whatever he's spending on it, I'm not going to question that. That's his money. That's my money. That's my form of creative expression. Now, this is where it gets really, because underneath it all, and I'm saying this from a really conscious platform, money is the area in which it gets really murky. So if either of you have any addictions, be they shopping, be they gambling, be they porn, be they alcohol, be any addictions of any kind, that's the secrecy coming in. Money will, is there any secrecy around money, any guilt, any shame? That's the first thing to destroy a relationship. So get really radically honest with what's going on, please. That's a whole other area. Okay. And when I talk about men being independent, and this is a whole other can of worms as well. Okay, I'll go there. So women, I've heard women say, I want him to lead. And yet she also says, I want him to soften. Okay, but I want him to lead. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by that within the dynamics of a relationship? Okay, I want him to lead. So you want him to make all the decisions, is that right? You want him to take charge so that you can go, oh, now I'm in this safe container and I can just roll back and I can surrender. That is one dynamic. And it's a beautiful one. The problem is that you want him to lead, but you're not giving up the reins. And I'm not talking trad wives. I'm not talking any of that. I'm talking about your capacity to receive and to trust that he probably knows you better than you know yourself. And this, I'm going to give you a really practical example of that. So we have a thing called the mystery date, whatever that is. And it's that I have to say, this took me years to be able to do this. This didn't come easily at all. You know, I mean, I'm the CEO of our company, right? I'm competent, I'm intelligent, I'm an organizer, etc., right? And I know what I want, right? So we have these days when Clive is in full charge and it's a date, right? And he just tells me, or I ask him, what do I need to wear? And what time do I need to be ready? That's all the information that I need. And the first time we did it was really scary because I was like, oh God. And so he organised everything. Where we went for coffee, where we went shopping, where we, the art gallery, whatever it is, whatever we did, he first thought about the things that I love, but also the things that he loved, the things that we have in common. He didn't have to make this all about me. It was about us. But he organised the whole day. And I simply had to just sit back and receive. Do you know how hard that is to do for a woman these days? To sit back and receive and trust that he knows exactly what you need. Okay? Just take that in. So that's what you mean by I want him to lead. So create the space for him to lead. Get out of your own way. Shut up and receive. Okay? That opens a whole other deck of interesting dynamics. Because then we have to reflect on everywhere where we can't do that, everywhere where we have to be in control. Because most women I'd be speaking to now are the ones who like to be in control. So if you're living on your own, you're in control of your own life. If you're coming out of a marriage, then you want to be back in control. So first of all, be with a man that you trust. Be with a man who's capable of making you feel safe. Be with a man who honours you and respects you. And everything that you ask of him, be willing to give that to him too. Okay, the dynamics of these relationships must be equal. Beautifully equal. Okay. Pleasure. Okay. A healthy relationship, a healthy marriage involves pleasure. So sex, touch, communion, pleasure, presence in each other's arms. If we don't plan for this, and I know, oh, you'd love it to be romantic and spontaneous, and it's like, no. We have to plan for it. We have to build it into the fabric of our lives so that it's part and parcel, again, of the glue, of the magnetic energy that we feed, that keeps it, the desire in there, that keeps the fire in each other's eyes, that just keeps that delicious bond between you that is so sacred that nobody else can tear apart. So, make pleasure a priority. As opposed to the communicating, don't bring all that into the bedroom, okay? When you're there with each other, you're present, fully present in your body. So this is not at 11:15 at night. This is not the last thing on your list when you've got all the washing done and you've got all the socks folded and you've got the kids' notes for school tomorrow and you've done this and this and this and then you planned you've got to get up at 6:30 and no. No, I'm not talking about that thing. That's not rewarding. That's just going through the motions, okay? Usually, because you're so damn tired. Make time for pleasure when you're not tired. Now, I'm talking about quality, not quantity. But if you plan it, you're going to think about it. You're going to anticipate it. And there's going to be a little bit of build-up towards it, which makes it even more exciting and even more meaningful because you're both consciously planning it. Okay? This is not something to go, oh, it'll just happen. Because it might just happen with somebody else, okay? You've got to consciously feed this connection between the two of you. Consciously being present. And so this is where the touch points happen. As I said, that little kiss on the back of the neck, just a hug during the day. He's done all the vacuuming. Wow. While you had a bath. Wow. And women, don't look to him to be the source of all your pleasure. Seek what gives you pleasure. Seek what keeps you engaged and turned on to life. Your libido is not just physical, it's an ebullience, it's an involvement, it's an engagement with life itself. So give to you those things that will keep that going. So whether it's buying a bunch of flowers for yourself, whether it's just that slow, beautiful froth on the coffee in the morning when you're on a walk, whether it's just quietly sitting with your child and giving them a hug, the things that nourish your soul. For me, it's our rose oil, right? For me, it's aromas. And it's sitting in the sun. And it's listening to the birds. And it's sometimes going shopping. Not to buy things, but to feel the fabric. To experience the beauty of somebody else's creations. That nourishes me. That keeps me full. So when I come to the relationship, I'm not depleted. I'm not asking him to fill me up. I already come with a level of palpable pleasure ready to gift and receive. Okay? As you can see, this takes work. As you can see, this is not just something you could pick up in a 2-hour workshop. And there is much more that I could add here. But the foundations of it all is that we take 100% responsibility for our own thoughts, feelings, actions within the context of the relationship. So whatever stuff we have going on, it needs to be cleared. It needs to be brought to the surface. It needs to be acknowledged. Because if it's not, it'll again build a brick in the wall between the two of you. So the work I do, and sometimes Clive does too when we're working in relationship, is to do that, is to clear that away. And sometimes there's all the entanglements of other relationships that we've had in the field, or all the entanglements of a parent interfering, okay? All those entanglements. That's the work we do, to clear those away. So it's like, from there I choose to be with another, from this beautiful, radical, transparent place, a place of choice as to how we're going to create our lives together moving forward, not knowing where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, not even knowing where we might be in a month, okay? But where we're going to be tomorrow or where we're going to be today, because we're choosing each other above powerful pearl pendulums. This is a really potent transmission for those who are ready to attract this type of relationship or restore it and then feed it and energetically, I guess it's almost like a defragging of the current relationship and bringing it back to its 0 point and then downloading the new operating system for it as it moves forward. It's a very powerful transmission. And it's going to set the tone for relationships moving forward. Because it's this type of radical transparency and communion that will literally shift and change the dynamics of so much. It's that important. And the energies are such that it actually can only now be actualized en masse or greater couples for the first time. There've been some of us who've been the pioneers, and it's been very hard work. But now that we've reached this point, we hold that energy, that consciousness in the field for others to do the same, to pick it up and run with it and pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. Sacred marriage is the most phenomenal vehicle for radical change, for radical growth. But you got to choose it. So there you are, a little bit longer than I thought. And it still leaves more doors open for conversation. We're open to running workshops. We're open to speaking to larger audiences about this. Between us, myself and Clive, we have nearly 80 years experience in this area. All hard-earned. And delicious in its full integration and all the gifts that it brings. And as I said, we don't know where we're going to be in the next 10 years. But I know while it's alive and it's fresh and it's growing and it's palpable and I can taste it and it supports me and supports my deepest dreams, I'm in it, boots and all. So there you are. Contact me, d@lightandco.earth, if you'd like to know more. Okay? I'd love to hear from you, or we would love to hear from you. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you.